We all want to live happy and fulfilling lives, lives that are rich with memories and experiences that we can look back on with joy. But how do you actually create that life? How do you go from the life that you have right now to living the life that you want to live? That's what I'm going to be talking about today. Hi, I'm Scarlett Cochran, and this is One Big Happy Life, where we are all about helping you create the life that you want while building wealth along the way. So today we're talking about what makes a happy life and how do you create a happy life for yourself. And I'm also going to be touching on the core areas that we really focus on here at One Big Happy Life, core areas that I believe are an essential part of creating the life that you want. I'm actually recording this episode just half an hour before my family and I hop on a plane to go to California. I'm going to be speaking at the San Diego Women's Leadership Conference on the topic of using your money to create the life that you want and feeling empowered when it comes to your finances. So if you're heading to the San Diego Women's Leadership Conference, it'll be really exciting to see you there. But I also wanted to let you know about another way that we can hang out and talk about these topics that I cover inside of my new book, It's Not About the Money. And that's the It's Not About the Money live virtual event, which kicks off next week. And guess what? You can come for free. It is a bonus that you get from purchasing the book. So if you haven't ordered your copy yet, now is the perfect time. And if you have ordered your copy, make sure that you go over and actually register for your bonuses. Head over to onebighappylife.com/book. You'll find the links to retailers for you to purchase your book, whether it's a big retailer like Amazon, Target, and Barnes & Noble, or international retailers as well. So you can get the book even if you live abroad. So go ahead, order your book, and then head back over to onebighappylife.com/book and enter in your book order details so that we can send you all of the details for all of the book bonuses. All right, so let's talk about what it means and what it takes to live a happy life. And I thought we'd start out by defining what I mean by a happy life. Now, living a happy life doesn't mean that you're in a constant state of euphoria and constant state of joy, because the thing is, life doesn't work like that. Life is full of ups and downs. It's full of unpredictability. And it's just really unrealistic to expect that you're always going to quote unquote feel happy all the time, meaning feeling that joyful exuberance. And in reality, that doesn't reflect how we as humans actually operate, which is that we tend to have this baseline set point, our what is neutral for us. And even as we experience moments that bring us that sense of like overwhelming joy and euphoria, like when we accomplish big goals, when we haven't seen a loved one in a long time, the truth is that we adapt to those feelings, even big changes in circumstances. When we get the dream job, the dream house, when we have our children, we then move back to that baseline of what is really our normal. So when I talk about creating a happy life, it's not one where we don't ever experience negative emotion or one where we're always feeling this overwhelming feeling of happiness and joy and excitement, but really a feeling of calm and satisfaction and contentment and happiness when we think about the life that we're creating, when we think about the person that we are being in our lives, so that we're creating lives that are meaningful, that are aligning with our values, where we get to show up as the person that we want to be, where we get to have the relationships and experiences that matter to us, where we get to do work that we find to be personally fulfilling and satisfying. That is what I mean when I talk about living a happy life. That is really the essence of One Big Happy Life as a whole, that the goal is to live a fulfilling and meaningful and rich life for us, to take the circumstances that we find ourselves in at any given point in our lives and make the absolute best decisions that we can make for ourselves, so that we're continually showing up in our lives the way that we want to and continually creating the life that we want for ourselves. But also, we're being very intentional with who we are choosing to be. right? We're able to create ourselves. Now, the thing about a happy life is that it looks different for everyone because we all have different values, different visions for what we want for our lives, different preferences, different things that we enjoy, and that's okay. So the goal is to really get used to looking inside of yourself for the answers when it comes to what you want out of your life. Because it's really easy to see, especially in the world that we live in right now, where so much of other people's highlight reel is just readily available for us to see on a day-to-day basis. It can cause conflicting feelings in us. It can kind of muddle how we really feel and what we really want, because at the end of the day, we're searching for happiness and, well, these people look happy, so maybe this is what I should be doing. But in reality, we don't want to be looking outside ourselves to determine what actually creates happiness for us, because when we do that, we run the risk of setting goals that we don't find personally meaningful and then reaching those goals and finding out that, hey, this was actually a hollow win. So we don't want that. We want to make sure that we're setting meaningful goals, that we're really looking inside of ourselves versus what society might say creates happiness, or what our parents or our friends or people on social media might say creates a happy life, but really determining for ourselves what that happy life actually looks and feels like, and accepting that it's going to look different for us than it does for anyone else. And that includes your romantic or life partner if you have one. So Joseph and I, we've been together for almost 11 years now. And yes, we're living our lives together, but we're also different people and we enjoy different things. And so what we do is our version of a happy life really involves the two of us meshing our ideas of what we each want for ourselves and sometimes compromising. So, yes, even when it comes to your romantic partner, you don't have to completely give up what you desire to have in your life. It's really about having that open conversation so that you can both build that vision of a happy life together as much as possible. Another important principle that I wanted to talk about when it comes to creating a happy life is that for most of us, happy lives don't just happen. It's something that we have to decide that we want and actively pursue. For most of us, the default life, the thing that just kind of lands in our lap when we're just kind of going with the flow, is not going to be the most fulfilling and rich version of our lives for so many reasons. For one, we're constantly evolving as people. We're changing as we grow and as we experience the world and as we learn things. And so our vision for happiness is going to change over time. And our ability to accomplish things in our lives, it grows over time because, again, we're becoming more skillful over time. But what can happen is we can very easily get stuck. We get into that comfy job, or we get into, let's say, a relationship that is comfortable but isn't actually the best for us, or we're used to default relationship habits. Maybe you've been friends with the same group of friends for 10 years and you feel an urge to change, but they only know you one way. And so then you continue to show up the way people expect you to versus the way that you actually want to in your life. Not to mention that when it comes to reaching our full potential, that it takes, for many of us, conscious effort. We have to actually decide which parts of ourselves we would like to grow and flourish. We actually get to decide who we want to be, how we want to feel, how we want to think. A whole section of my book, It's Not About the Money, is devoted to how we think about money and the way that our thoughts about money and how we perceive things and how we interpret things can really impact the quality of our decisions and the quality of our results. And so when it comes to living a happy life, we want to continually be examining our thoughts about ourselves, about the way the world works, about what's possible for us, so that we are continually growing and staying flexible and working towards the life that we want versus settling for the life that we think that we can get. Which brings me to the next happiness principle, which is that creating a happy life is a lifelong process. It's something that we do our whole lives because it's really just about how we are showing up in our lives and who we are being. Because again, we continue to grow and change, and the world grows and changes around us. Think back to 10 years ago or 20 years ago, what the world looked like then and what was possible then versus what's possible now. So again, think about this idea of creating a happy life as a lifelong process, and one that you actually get to enjoy the whole way, which is why I teach so much about balance and making sure that you're building in joy into your daily life now. Because, like I always say, life is the thing that happens between your goals. You want to make sure that you are intentionally creating a day-to-day life that you actually enjoy being in, even as you might be growing towards a different vision for your life. Another principle is that becoming the person that you want to be is also a lifelong process. And that's something that I learned really later in life, in my 30s, something that I realized that I could do, which is that I could decide who I wanted to be. That the idea that I had of myself, and especially, again, the inputs that I had gotten growing up, inputs that I may have gotten from the world, even stories that I told my own self for a long time, that none of those things had to be true. If, say, for example, this is not actually true, but let's just say I always considered myself to be someone who hated public speaking, like I wasn't a good public speaker. That is not a fixed thing. I could actually decide that I wanted to be good at public speaking and then become a person that was good at public speaking. And this, when I realized that, it really did change everything for me. Not to say that my whole life changed overnight and I became a completely different person overnight, but it's incredibly empowering to continually remind yourself that, hey, I may not be good at this right now, but I can be if I want to, and I want to, so I'm going to keep working at this. And that sequence of thoughts is really, I think, an essential part of creating a happy life, because it also allows us to continue to grow when we experience setbacks, to move past those setbacks and continue working towards the life that we want. And so my whole goal here with One Big Happy Life is to give you the support, the inspiration, the practical tools to help you intentionally create the happy life that you want every single day, starting right now. And there are really 4 key areas that most of what I talk about and teach about really touch on. So number 1 is life design. So that means really thinking about the life that you want, being aware of the life that you're creating, and deciding what you want from your life. And that is a process. It is not as straightforward as it seems, because it's also getting that vision to work when you have all of the moving pieces of your life happen. And I know, because I've reinvented or re-envisioned what I wanted for my life multiple times, and it's a process. So transitioning from being an active duty Marine and thinking that maybe I would have stayed in the Marine Corps all the way to retirement, to deciding that I wanted to be a lawyer, that took several years even to transition out of the Marine Corps and into college, and then transitioning from college over to law school before becoming a lawyer. And then similarly, making the transition from being a full-time banking and finance attorney to now being an entrepreneur. That was a whole transition. And then the transition into being a published author. It's all been a process. And along the way, I've had to make a lot of micro decisions about, well, exactly what is it am I looking for? What am I trying to create in my life? And so that's why I spend a lot of time talking about lifestyle design and really thinking through what it is you want in your life. So that means goal setting, prioritization, decision making, deciding who and what you want to be, and then how to actually make those things happen for yourself. Another thing that I talk about is money, because money really does touch on everything. Money is the lifeblood of our society. It's how we sustain ourselves. So managing our money well is essential. Also, because we want to make sure that we have the wealth to support ourselves when we are ready to stop working, or when we choose to stop working, or when we have to stop working. And so we want to make sure that we're balancing using our money to fuel the life that we want along the way with making sure that we're also growing that money so it can continue to fuel our lives for the rest of our lives and maybe for generations to come as well, if that's a goal for you. The third thing that I'm going to be talking a lot about here at One Big Happy Life is business. I love being an entrepreneur. It's something that I had no idea about basically like 5 years ago. It was not even on my radar, and it's really changed my life. And I think it's really important for us to have these conversations around how to build a business. How can you create the work that you want for yourself? How do you have full control over your income so that you're always able to make money even without an employer? Or if you choose to be an employee but you want to make some extra money, that you can build a business on the side. So I'll be talking a lot about building a freedom business, building a dream business, and what it takes to do that. And then lastly, I'm going to be talking about productivity, meaning how can we use our time effectively? How do we build in the habits and routines and daily practices that really form the life that we want, that make it easier for us to create our lives so that we're spending our time on the things that matter and not on the things that don't. So that's what you can expect going forward. Now, don't forget to head on over to onebighappylife.com to pre-order your copy of the book and to sign up for the It's Not About the Money live virtual event, plus all the other book bonuses. All right, I'll see you next time.